Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink is by MontBlanc, or MontBlanc, here in their lovely cartridge form. Royal Blue. And the pens I use for most of the tests are this Knox Plato with a medium nib, which is a bit flexy and a bit wet. And again, I stole my mom's MontBlanc Solitaire with a fine nib. But it's fairly dry and kind of wonky in flow, and I don't think I'll be using this much anymore. So, yeah, I'll be returning that. Check out the chromatography. Tested it with both pens, and as you can see, the results were really the same. It's a fairly light blue ink. A lot of it washes away, some remains, but yeah. Thought I'd compare it to some other inks. Here's MontBlanc Royal Blue up at the top. Here's Visconti Blue in the middle, and Waterman's Serenity or Florida Blue down at the bottom. I thought I'd sort of test the basic blues from these major companies, so there you go. Now, maybe about a year ago I started doing paper tests just for my own amusement, and this is one of them, and it was for MontBlanc's Royal Blue. And I used a Knox Aristotle in extra fine, Knox Galileo in fine, this exact same Knox Plato medium, a Knox Avicenna in broad, and a Lamy Safari with a 1.1 stub. Yeah, and there are the water tests. So, let's look at the real Clairefontaine tests. Here's 90 grams per square meter, 11 seconds to dry in the MontBlanc Solitaire. But there's something weird about the flow in that. The downstrokes are wet and every other direction is achingly dry. So, in the, yeah, anyways. 15 seconds in the Plato. There's good flow. It's not too wet, it's not too dry. I said it's a perfectly fine middle blue. But I do think it looks a bit thin in places, especially in the drier writing pen. I like this blue in a wet pen. I think it looks great. You know, it's got great shading, and as is the case for many of the MontBlanc inks, it washes away quite easily because you want to be able to get it out of your fancy pens. Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, where again the downstrokes are weird in the Solitaire, which took 10 seconds, and 12 in the Knox. Again, I feel like you get much, oh, here you get like a tiny halo of sheen in the Knox. But yeah, it looks really thin in the Solitaire, so I wouldn't use it in a dry writing pen. But again, washes away very easily. No bleed, feather, spread, not much echo, etc, etc. Next up is Tomoe River Paper, where, you know, let's ignore the dry times because something weird is going on there. Here there's plenty of sheen where it's put on wet, in this case in the Knox pen, and you get it in the writing too. There's good shading. Yeah, no bleed, feather, spread. There's predictably some echo because I put it down on the next page when it hadn't dried yet. Because this is very thin paper. Again, water test, it is just gone. That's gone. Now, for this test, the 20-pound copier paper, I only used the Solitaire because it's a finer nib and I thought it would be a fairer test, but it really didn't do it many favors. There's almost no bleed, but yeah, it's kind of, there's still some feathering and it's a bit woolly and it looks kind of thin and weak. Water test is so patchy. That might have been because the flow on the pen was a bit patchy, but still. There's a tiny bit of bleed through in spots, but mostly not too bad. Again, in the Mead Notebook Paper, I only used the Solitaire. But again, I feel like it makes it look pretty thin and weak in places. But, yeah, I said the fact that there was so little bleed or show through was probably because of how dry that pen was. But, yeah, there is a bit of feathering. There is a bit of spread. The water test isn't too bad. It did explode. It did feather, but... And again, this is some old Moleskine notebook paper, and for some reason that seems to make it more well-behaved than the modern stuff. But even here you get some sheen in the wet Knox. Not going to be able to get it on camera. And here I rant about Moleskine's unpredictability. But just like on the fancier papers, it's mostly gone. Not the best resistance. So, yeah, there you go. There's MontBlanc's Royal Blue. It's a good blue. The end. No, okay. Not my favorite blue. Really not bad. That's sort of all I can say about it. For your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.